And the panellist, Mr. Ankit Rastogi, partner of Mason Associates Advocates from India. And Mr. Kevin Madembo, Senior Associate of DLA Piper in Bahrain.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's session on the future of litigation, trends, risks, our favorite word, and the legal tech innovations. I'm Hassa Boumjed. I'm an assistant manager in the General Counsel Office of EY, and I have the pleasure of moderating what I'm sure will be a timely and insightful discussion. I know it's the last session. I hope you had a great lunch. The coffee is wearing off, and some of you might already be thinking about dinner, but stay with us. We're closing with a topic that's just important. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our distinguished speakers for today's discussion. Ankit Rastogi. Ankit is a partner at Mason & Associates Advocates based in India. He specializes in intellectual property registration, enforcement, as well as intermediary liability, and has an extensive experience in navigating complex legal matters across various sectors. Ankit is a gold medalist in his LLM program in IP law and a two-time Legal 500 recommended lawyer. Ankit's expertise and strategic insights into the evolving trends in litigation will provide a critical perspective today. We also have with us today Kelvin Madembo. Kelvin is a senior associate at DLA Piper in Manama. He is an M&A and early stage investments lawyer and has advised both startups and established corporates in various transactions. Kelvin's work in advising clients on high-risk investments has deepened his understanding and appreciation of contractual disputes, particularly in crafting agreements that facilitate effective enforcement and streamlined litigation. Now, before we begin, I'd like to invite both Ankit and Kelvin to share any opening remarks they may have. I'm sure I haven't captured all of your achievements, and if you have any other remarks about our topic today. Ankit, if you'd like to share your thoughts first.
Thank you, Hessa. Thank you for introducing me. Hi, everyone. I have probably the responsibility to wake you up from the lunch slumber. I'll try my best. So we are dealing with a topic which is always evolving. The heading is the future of litigation. I think we might be covering the ODR issue, which is gaining traction in India. The immutable storage thing that is probable through the blockchain technology. Then the AI's role in research, case analysis. I would also like to touch on some steps that the Indian legislative framework has taken and the Indian judiciary has taken in light of the fact that we are a very diverse country and there is some digital divide. So the courts, the government have taken some steps to ensure that a lot of people are covered under these new horizons that we've touched post-COVID, such as virtual hearings, online availability of court orders, paperless courts, filing completely paperless. And with all these issues, with Gen AI helping us with all the predictive analysis, even helping us with case law research, there are tools which help us in case management litigation, the risk associated with discriminatory bias that there may be. So yeah, we'll cover all of these, I think, in the discussion. That's what I intend.
Thank you, Ankit. Kelvin, if you could share your thoughts as well. I don't know. Do you want my mic?
Thank you. I think as growing up, I did not think that I would hold a mic on the stage wearing a suit to talk about litigation, but here we are. So, firstly, welcome to Bahrain. For all those that are not from Bahrain, glad you're here. And importantly, I think for me, which is great about having this summit in Bahrain, is like just as I was rushing to come here, poured coffee on myself. But because I live close by in Bahrain, I just dashed home and changed. So here we are. So yeah, welcome to Bahrain. But I think so. When we're starting to look at trends when it comes to litigation, it's such a key topic for me as an advisor in the risks investment space, particularly looking forward, going into the future with AI and technology, etc. Because I think some of our clients are starting to become very, very conscious about their claims and how to do them into the future. So it's just starting to become a key topic. So I thought it appropriate today to just touch on and reflect on some of those points. So it would be good at least just discuss that and share my thoughts. So yeah.
Thank you, Kelvin. Couldn't agree more. As litigation continues to evolve, so do the challenges and the opportunities as well. With AI tools, predictive analytics, and shifting regulations entering the mix, the legal landscape is changing faster than ever. As Kelvin and Ankit mentioned, today we'll look at how legal professionals are keeping up, the kind of risks that are coming to the surface, and the innovations that are starting to change, and how do we approach it in litigation. Kelvin, I would like to start with you. From your perspective, what trends are you seeing that are more significantly shaping the future in litigation now?
Okay, yeah. So I think the big one, right, is we're starting to see AI and technology integration.
Yeah.
That's probably the one at the top of everyone's mind. Particularly, you can look at sort of case law management when it comes to sort of the volume of documentation that is involved, which is starting to help, for instance, like sort of smaller practices to take on bigger matters, for instance. So it's becoming advantageous from that perspective. Additionally, you're also starting to see e-discovery and even like the conduct of litigation itself through like I think conferences, etc., like hybrid litigation of sorts.
Yeah.
So I think that's the future that we're headed to. It's some of those post-COVID aspects that are starting to come in. Then another key one, which I encounter quite a lot in my practice, it's sort of ESG litigation.
Yeah.
I think when you just start to look at the world and going forward, human rights matters, environmental matters, they're starting to come into play. And I think we're also looking at sort of class actions where I think perhaps maybe you're starting to just see private individuals, class lawsuits, etc. Like I think there was recently a claim, and sorry to say against a particular person, but there was recently a claim against Nestle in the US, where you see sort of children that were allegedly a part of sort of child labor, something along those lines. In the Ivory Coast, they were Malian, they brought those claims. So I think we're starting to see that bubbling up and coming to the fore, and also the ease of accessibility of litigation for people that ordinarily did not have the chance to pursue litigation. So I think perhaps maybe as a lawyer, how do I then look at that and figure out how do I participate in some of that work in my practice going forward, right? Firstly, from a perspective, but also importantly to also just assist and help with the accessibility of litigation.
Indeed, I agree. That's very insightful thoughts. Ankit, would you like to share your perspective on these trends as well?
No problem, Kelvin. Thank you. See, on these perspectives, on this trends that we are experiencing and how my team conducts their research, how we draft our emails, how we draft our reportings, or how we give opinions, I think there is a faster analysis done by the Gen AI or the softwares we use. However, still there is a lot of work which needs to be done because the model that is premised might not consider local susceptibilities. You may have a result that may be very global and superficial in nature, finding on the law, but it might not have answers on how the local courts work. So that's something, while it's fast, it's not accurate at this stage, at least as far as India is concerned. Second, what I've, on this trend, I am sure everybody saw that video. I saw it on LinkedIn that there was a person who recorded a video in a court in US where he made his arguments through a AI tool. The AI tool was on the video, and he told that I have a video to play, which is a summary of my arguments. The court allowed him. And then when the video was played, the court asked as to who is this person who's speaking. So he said, no, I created this tool, I made these arguments, and then that's the person he's speaking. And the court rejected and said that, no, you should have informed us in advance. So yeah, that's second. Third, what I came across while doing research on this topic was that a lot of bar associations in countries such as USA, I think, have also incorporated some regulations to tell the client when a lawyer is giving an advice that is there a Gen AI input in the advice that's being given? Are they utilizing those services while giving their opinions? In India, it's not at this moment. It's not required. Then on these trends, what I have in India, there's something very interesting that happened. India has around 22 to 23 different languages. We are divided on linguistic minorities. Our states are divided.
Yeah.
And every district court has their own language.
Yeah.
For example, in Bangalore, you will have a Kannada, and in Delhi, you might have in Delhi, generally English, but in, let's say, in Meerut or in Allahabad, the regional places, you'll have Hindi as the language. Then the high courts of that particular state will have English, and the Supreme Court will have English. So what Supreme Court did, Supreme Court launched a software which converted all the Supreme Court decisions into regional languages.
Okay.
So the person at the district level understand what is really the precedent and how they can apply it to the court. So that's something that has really helped at the district level in the country.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Then obviously post-COVID, we've seen a lot of changes in the Indian judicial system. There were never any e-filing done, except for arbitrations. There was never any e-filing done in India. And then there were virtual courts, then there were e-filings. Now there are e-courts across the country. No offense, but for smaller countries like Bahrain or let's say UK, probably reaching the court may
It's my home country.
Sorry. Probably reaching a court may take an hour. But when a litigant is based in Kerala and he has filed a suit and filed an SLP or the final appeal in the Supreme Court, he'll have to travel 3,000 kilometers. So when we've integrated all the virtual courts, a person sitting in Kerala can argue his case directly from Kerala. He doesn't need to travel. So that's my 2 bits on these trends.
Thank you so much. That's very valuable. I haven't seen the video, to be honest, but...
I'll share with you.
Yeah, please do. Thank you. It's clear...
Unless it was barred by the court. I don't know if it's still available.
If it's banned, it's banned. I don't want anything illegal. It's clear that the legal field is not only evolving quickly, but it's also very different, evolving very differently across jurisdictions. And as we continue exploring the evolving landscape, there are a few more angles I'd like to address that build on trends that we've discussed so far. I want to dig a little bit deeper and dive deeper into how legal technology, risk management, and regulatory changes are shaping the future of litigation. Calvin, what role do you see AI like ChatGPT, which is highly relied upon nowadays, and machine learning playing in litigation moving forward? I think Ankit a bit touched based on that, but if you could give me your perspective as well.
I think the first one is probably quicker preparation of documents.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I can't be one of the few junior lawyers that have tested out ChatGPT, etc., to see how better it is at drafting than me. So I see that coming into the fold. I see that sort of starting to become more regulated to sort of allow usage of it, because I think we actually just have to be open to it, right? It's coming whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you and your practice to adapt. Otherwise, you could potentially fall behind. I think that's the first point, that perhaps maybe the ease of drafting. And likewise, I think once you start to have tech come into play, you potentially also start to have streamlined systems and processes in terms of how we do things. That's the second one where I see importance. Just give me a second. Then I think that the third one is like, for instance, like they are tools that assist, right, with research, etc. I recall, I think about 5 years ago, it probably wasn't called AI as such, but
Yeah.
in our practices we were using systems like Kira, which is a machine learning tool.
Yeah.
Kira has gone on to develop into this beast, right, that can process, I think, thousands and thousands of documents and summarize it very quickly for you, as well as Luminance. It's those tools like that. Then I also discovered a new one recently. I think it's called Case Text. But basically, Case Text helps you with research and helps you find case law. I used to have this issue where perhaps like if I'm assisting a very senior lawyer on a matter, to their mind there's a case that exists somewhere that just addresses a particular matter, and they tell you there is a case law that deals with this. It does not exist, right? And so now it searches along those lines to just help you to sort of put in keywords that help you,
Yeah.
particularly as a junior, because you're the one that is the task of finding this. So I think it's systems like that, right? Where I think this case law is already there. These are just tools that are going to help us to become better lawyers. At the end of the day, it's not personal what we are litigating on. It's aspects that affect people's lives and stuff. So for me, as someone who's looking towards the future, I'm open to embracing it. But
We
yeah,
have to be honest.
yeah.
We have to.
Exactly. Then when it comes to regulation, right, there is need to regulate. And I know even internally as firms, you're going to need to come up with systems, I think, from a risk perspective to protect yourself, to ensure that at least your people are doing a good job and not just copying and pasting whatever is coming from AI systems. I know, like, with our firms, you can't access those systems. That's because they're doing the groundwork of finding a way to sort of integrate them into our systems and actually using them properly. There are a few sort of international firms that I actually understand now have contract negotiation systems and legal research systems that
Some of the companies have their own
Exactly,
AIs as well,
exactly. So
internal, to just protect confidential information, etc.
100%. Yeah, so they've been open to it and gone and partnered with some of these systems and technology play and found a way to sort of use them, which I think is probably the way to go, other than having your staff trying to circumvent to make their lives easier. So that's how I see it coming into play. And also I think legally, the fact that we actually need to regulate it, because I'm quite interested in the music space, right? And one of the things that have been coming up when it comes to like intellectual property, which is probably something that you can probably speak to, is the fact that we're starting to have these systems where AI or AI tools can write a piece of music, a composition.
Yeah.
Who
It can
owns
write
it?
anything and it could do anything.
Yes, who owns it, right? That is the question, and that there's regulation that needs to come in. And there's the question that if it's written a musical piece, is it capable of reproducing it in a similar manner if I give it the same instruction? And those kind of things. So that regulation is going to need to come into play into the future world, if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. And to be honest, I agree. I think the AI systems and all those technologies are enablers, yet I don't think they do replace a lawyer, like we've heard once the news came out of AI that, lawyers are going to be replaced, etc. I don't think so. I think they're enablers, though. Ankit, I'd like to bring you in here. Are there any specific tools or platforms that you've seen have a significant impact on managing litigation cases?
We utilize certain softwares which help us in managing our cases. I am not sure whether they are global. They are definitely accessible in India, and they help us with the updated order, the next date of hearing, and all of that. But most importantly, I think we have received a lot of a lot of work has been done at the judiciary level in India to make access something to everyone. So the Delhi High Court, where I practice, which is one of the most tech-savvy high court in India, unlike a lot of parts in the country, you can just send an email from a registered email ID, and they will provide you with the complete file in 24 hours. You can just send an email. Your ID should be registered when you file a case. And then you can just access the file immediately in 24 hours. So, and they have also, I'm sure in other countries also, they have bookmarked everything. They have cross-referenced everything. For example, if you're relying on a document, let's say you're relying on a sale deed.
Yeah.
So in the plaintiff, there is a sale deed mention. You can just click on sale deed and it'll take you cross-reference to the where the sale deed is in.
Technology.
So there is a lot of time saving. Lot of paperwork is not being utilized, lot of space saving. The entire Delhi High Court's files have been digitized in 4 or 5 years now. They don't accept papers except unless you say that you are not tech savvy and you want to lead evidence. That's only where they get slightly stuck.
Thank you. It's really encouraging to see how innovation is being embraced in practice, to be honest. And given AI tools have been embraced, there's obviously risks to attend to with all this digitalization. Kelvin, with the increasing digitalization, how are cybersecurity risks and data security concerns influencing litigation today from your perspective? And maybe we could think about what should organizations be mindful of when it comes to data protection and legal proceedings as well.
I think 3 days ago, I just did a repeat course that I have to do every 6 months around data privacy, data privacy. I think it's part of the regulations as well as some of the part of the firm policy. It's such a huge risk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that you're dealing with sensitive data, to some instances, sensitive personal data. So one, that influences how you deal with your client, the information that you can ask of them. Like for instance, when you're like assessing certain matters, right? Generally, the preference is if you're getting a contract, you want some of the personal information there redacted. That's extra time, that's extra delay. Someone's going to have to do that work, right? And importantly, also, you also don't want to be storing that information on your systems for longer, because there is that risk that the more you hold it, the more it's at risk and exposed to something that could incur costs for you. I actually don't know. I wonder what that plays from an insurance perspective in the feet of an insurer, what they would think about. But when it comes to, I think, proceeding in litigation-wise, it's now matters of discovery and potentially what you can discover as well. So it's just complex and something that needs to be figured out, right? And I just worry matters like that sometimes something has to go wrong before decent regulation and formulation on how to proceed can start to come into play. But it's such a huge risk and perhaps maybe potentially a consequence of increased access to information. Yeah, I think that's basically.
Excellent points, to be honest. Data protection and cybersecurity is definitely becoming a central issue for litigators.
Yeah, and costly as well.
And costly as well.
Costly as well, and risky, and such a huge risk for companies. I think the revolution started with the European GDPR, then the world started to follow suit, right? And now I think those standards, which is great, don't get me wrong, those standards which are great because at least they protect you and me, particularly on a personal level, they're starting to create a higher set of obligations for entities, and I think it's up to us to advise and direct companies and ensure that they maintain the necessary registration. Without taking too much of your time, if I can actually speak to like even when we deal with transactions, right?
Of course, yeah.
It's such a key thing that we look into now, nowadays, in that depending on the type of business, how actually do they hold information? If you're looking at perhaps maybe in the medical industry where you are likely to be dealing with personal information, it's such a factor where you're checking compliance. To the extent that there is no compliance in place, you're ensuring that maybe your agreements have the necessary protections in place, and you streamline how you then get to arriving at a resolve in the event that there's an issue on such matters.
Definitely. Ankit, I'd like you to weigh in here. I'd like your thoughts on the regulatory sides of things. Are there any legal tech changes that are significantly shaping litigation landscape in India or globally?
Well, I've already discussed SOAS and the digitization project of the government and the courts. But at a lot of levels for issues which are petty in nature, for check bouncing or claims which are less than a certain amount, or even in consumer protection. We are exploring online dispute resolution to a large extent. So that is something which is happening. As far as privacy laws are concerned, we are still on the cusp. Our rules have been our act has been enacted, but we've not created the rules. They are in deliberation currently, as and when they'll come. Apart from these two issues, I think, as far as legal tech changes are concerned, see, India adopted the IT Act in 2000. 2003, we came in with virtual conferencing for witnesses. 2018, all our Supreme Court proceedings are live now. We introduced a lot of documentation in our matters it has now become very internet centric.
Yeah.
Even especially in trademark matters now, when we have to prove a lot of documents, they have become internet centric. And we had a judgment in 2020 that if the documents are internet centric, downloaded from the internet, you'll have to file a certificate of the concerned person who's downloaded them, and who has, what was the relevant name of the system, when were they downloaded. While we are making small strides. For example, post-COVID, we also initiated summoning through WhatsApp, and before that there was a decision where we could summon through emails also.
Yeah.
So there are some changes at every level. We are adapting to changing system, but to be really honest, there is nothing remarkable, or there is nothing which the other developed countries have done. I think the only reason why we are not able to trend set what we've achieved in our capital to other parts is the magnitude of the country. And there is an extreme digital divide.
Thank you, Ankit. That's a very helpful overview. It's clear that staying ahead of regulatory and legislative developments isn't just about compliance anymore. It's becoming strategic imperative for legal professionals. And with that, we've reached the end of our core discussion. And I have to say the depth and breadth of insights shared today have been truly insightful. Thank you so much. It's clear that both of you bring not only deep expertise, to be honest, also a forward-thinking approach that's essential in today's legal environment. But before we officially wrap up, I'd like to invite each one of you to share your final thoughts. Ankit, is there anything you would like to leave with us today? Perhaps a key takeaway?
As a takeaway, I think I learned a lot from this conference, more specifically on the issues of arbitration cross-border. Then there was some, I think Pranav had a presentation on AI and big data yesterday, I think. So I took some learning from that. But I personally think that we are discussing a topic which will always be evolving. Mm-hmm. Probably the last topic of every WLF will be the future of litigation, and somebody on the other end will be speaking something much more updated then. So it's a constant change, it's a constant upgradation on the topic with every speaker who will speak on this. But I will just say, I wrote this line yesterday. For AI, we are in a world which is tech-driven, but at the same time, we should not forget that it is to be human-centered. So yeah, I'll end with that.
Thank you, Ankit. Kelvin, how about you? Any closing reflections or advice for those navigating this evolving litigation landscape?
Well, I think my first one is to congratulate my colleague, Bilal. He won GCC Knowledge of the Year
yesterday. Amazing. Congratulations to him.
So we were very excited for him, and I took his award this morning from his office, and I put it in mine.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think importantly, thank you for coming to Bahrain, and it's been great at least to meet legal minds and just exchange ideas and how to approach the future. And as a fairly junior lawyer, I think my plea that I leave with people, I think it's more towards adoption of the new trends and AI, and looking forward, and importantly ensuring that it still keeps jobs for juniors, because they will be the future lawyers. I think that's the one that I leave you with. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you both for those amazing insights. I'm pretty sure we all have a lot to think about after today's session, but I'd like to also open the floor for any questions.
I always like it when there are no questions.
Tell me again.
I always like it when there are no questions.
Thank you very much for your insightful information. And you talked about trends and you talked about the current advancement that are being made in your country and here in Bahrain. I would just like to ask you, what is the biggest risk or the drawback that you see? I mean, currently we know Saudi Arabia just put their entire Justice Department online, called Nudges. And I think Bahrain will soon follow, as well as the rest of the countries. But what is the biggest drawback or the biggest risk that you foresee which is associated with it, and how we will be able to tackle with it? Thank you.
Should I go first? Look, I think for me, mine when it's more towards, I think, the problem which has come with increased access of information is that it can also land in the wrong hands. I think that's been my biggest one, and also the potential loss of privacy in terms of that information sort of being online and available to everyone. That's the big one, right, that I see. Then also, forward looking, I think a call then has to be made, right, as lawyers and as society, which path we want to take going forward. Do we stay back with a process where perhaps maybe records of case law, etc., is stored in I don't want to call them databases, because that database is now what's online, but it's like it's filed in underground storages, etc., and one day it could burn up, or do we want to proceed in sort of this decentralized system where access, like all that information is stored elsewhere and backed up everywhere, and to a certain extent protected for future generations to access? I think that's the question we have to answer for ourselves as society. But yeah, there is that risk of exploitation in that good information could be, it just depends on who has access to it and who stands to utilize it. For me, that's where I see the big risk being.
Hi, thank you for the question. Privacy is one risk which I think law firms will face while putting their queries on an AI platform. A lot of our clients have asked for security assessment of the systems that we use. Apart from that, I also think there is a discriminatory bias that may happen. I'll give you an example. So I think in US there's something called as a social security card. In India there is an Aadhaar card. AI can create both the cards. And somebody made a fake, through a Gen AI, a fake Aadhaar and a fake social security card. When this became a rage that this can be done through AI, when somebody did it again after a week or 10 days, in the US's card there was written only a sample and not in the Indian card. So probably the stricter nature of the laws, probably more on compliance. So I think we are dealing with a tool that doesn't know its boundaries till it's told. And I think what I can foresee is privacy, but I can also foresee wrong opinions, wrong understanding of the subject laws, and having a conflict of laws while giving its opinion. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Well, thank you, Ankit and Kevin.
Oh, there's just something that just came to mind. I think another risk of digitization is I think the exposure to simple failures like data losses, electricity losses. What happens now if there's a power failure? Do we proceed with court? It's simple stuff like that, right? Fine, there's backups and perhaps measures to ensure that we're safeguarded, but it's simple processes that also start to impact and come into the fore. So yeah.
Thank you, I agree. Thank you, Ankit. Thank you, Kelvin. Is there any final remarks you'd like to add?
Just off the topic, it's just something that when he said on digitization. So there was an inter-conference, and one of the topics of my colleague was protecting trade secrets in the digital world. And then I commented, then you can't protect your trade secrets in a digital world. You write it in a piece of paper and put it in the locker.
That's a nice final one. Thank you both, and thank you to our audience as well.
So please stay here.
Thank you. Now, if the moderator would like to honour the panellists. Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause.